Yes, sir. Look, recently I ran across this reaction video from this super liberal trash channel known as the Young Turks, where they have this female who's Armenian and the other individual is a Turkish American dude. Just to give you some context into their backgrounds, because it just shows you the regard that they will have for the so-called black community. So they're making this critique slash a video to kind of mock this individual named Ben Shapiro, who's a fast talking Jewish conservative who basically calls out hypocrisy from liberalism, feminism, so on and so on. Whether you agree with him, that's on you. But what I did agree with is his critique on that trash ass thought video called WAP by those two super whores that everybody is supporting, and everybody doesn't understand that they're getting pushed to corrupt your little black and brown daughters so that they could become whores, not wives. But what we have to understand is these liberal channels and everybody, they don't give a fuck about so-called black families. And you're going to see that for yourself right here. This man, Ben Shapiro, is going to talk about the trash-ass lyrics that are in this song. But yet, these liberals are not even going to talk about what is wrong with the fucking video, because they don't care about the so-called black community. Why is anybody else going to care about you when you don't care about yourself? When you present yourself in that manner and you say that it's my body, this is empowerment. The only thing you're empowering is a thought culture that influences the hookup culture, that influences more single moms at a rapid rate, abortions because the pregnancies are unplanned, no morals, no culture, less fathers, less love, more hookups, more STDs. The cycle continues. It goes on. It doesn't stop. But at the end of the day, so-called black men have to stop it. We got to figure this shit out. We have to restore order. And the only way that we're going to restore order is that we figure out the script. We figure out the game plan. And the game plan is in the good book. It's with our higher power. We reject them. We're going to be rejected by these whores who we're trying to build with. They don't understand that we out here looking for the best interest in them when we try to tell them to put something on. They'd rather get pimped out, all for a quote-unquote bag, all for whatever these goddamn Europeans want to sell them. They're not buying anything from so-called black businesses. They buying everything that's expensive. Now they want you to do the same thing. Nobody gives a shit about the so-called black community. Everybody want to big and boast off the quote-unquote hip-hop culture, this, that, this, and that. They want to blast your music, but they're big-time hypocrites because they wouldn't want their daughters doing what the fuck they're kind of encouraging on the so-called black community. Nobody gives a shit about you. You got to give a shit about yourself. This thought culture has got to go. Or everybody else that I want to talk about something's wrong with you, self-hate, all that fucking nonsense, you're just going to be a cast off. Not a lot of people are going to like that. Let's check it out.
Ben Shapiro is the guy who wrote a book on porn and how porn is bad, very naughty, it should be banned. But he is also targeting...
What these super liberals do is they start off with a shot at you out the gate to try to discredit what you're trying to say. But as a so-called black man, I'm going to tell you straight like this. Since these pro-blacks love hearing it and love the goddamn white man so much, hear it out of the white man's mouth about your fucking woman and why you're looked at as the way you are. You can't even control your woman. How are you going to control anything else? That's how the rest of the world views you, man.
And her latest music video, WAP, which stands for wet ass P-word. If you want the edited version, you know, the PC version of it, it's wet and gushy. That's what's used in the music video for the non-explicit version. But nonetheless, Ben Shapiro is very, very disturbed by the lyrics of this song. Very disturbed, very. So let's hear him recite the actual lyrics from the song.
Here are some of the lyrics. You ready? Whores in this house. There's some whores in this house. There's some whores in this house. There's some whores in this house. Hold up. I said certified freak 7 days a week. Wet ass P-word. Make that pullout game weak. Yeah, you effin' with some wet ass P-word. P-word is female genitalia. Bring a bucket and a mop for this wet ass P-word. Give me everything you got for this wet ass P-word.
Nothing but symbolism, horrorism, anything that you do not want your daughter, your sister, niece, anybody that you love watching. because you know it's a bunch of bullshit, it's a bunch of corruption, and it's to destroy the structure of the black family.
Beat it up, N-word. Catch a charge. Extra large and extra hard. Put this P-word right in your face. Swipe your nose like a credit card. Hop on top, I want to ride. I do a Kegel while it's inside. Spit in my mouth, look in my eyes. This P-word is wet, come take a dive. And continue along these lines. And it gets significantly more vulgar. Like a lot more vulgar.
I mean,
And they find that shit so hilarious. Meanwhile, that dude Ben Shapiro couldn't have felt any more uncomfortable reading those trash ass lyrics. And it doesn't feel any better for me to sit there and listen to that shit, because to be honest with you, that's the first time that I actually heard the lyrics from that song. I haven't heard it. I don't want to hear that shit, period.
you know he loves it. You know he loves it. He loves it. He's like, well, I forget the first lyric, but the one that he repeated over and over again. But he was just so into it. You know he's into it. The guy who writes an anti-porn book is consuming a lot of porn.
And to play devil's advocate of that, right? Somebody that maybe consumed a lot of porn knows the harm that it will do to your psyche, and then he gets influenced to write that book. Listen, I don't give a fuck whether he consumed a lot or a little, but he definitely knows the harm that porn can do to a man. So now they want to try to ridicule him for that? You see the moves that they do?
Keep it real.
Yeah, there's okay, guys who say, "Oh, I've never watched porn," watch more porn than the rest of the school combined. That's my sense of it, okay? And a guy who writes a book about not watching porn, oh my God, it's broken every record in the book. And so the number of times he watched that video has got to be in the dozens. Oh no, honey, I'm taking notes. I'm taking notes on the wet ass P word that they are talking about. What was that lyrics again? I think I've got to rewind and watch it again alone. Okay, anyway.
I'm trying to understand. This is what it's basically come to. You're going to have one side is basically right, and one side that's basically, they know they're wrong, but they know where the bread is buttered, and they know what side they got to roll with so they could continue pushing out their bullshit on their fucking dumbass platform. Let's be honest. Now they want to make fun of the man because he's calling it out like it is. Props to him, but to be honest with you, it should be more so-called black men and so-called black women coming out of this. They should be coming at this situation. But they're sitting there not saying anything.
The thing that he's doing is this old trick that Henny does every year. Whenever given an opportunity, they'll show spring break pictures and go, "Can you believe the debauchery that goes on here? Show more bikinis, okay?" And it's not just for their own pleasure, but it's for their audience's pleasure, right? So they live vicariously through people who are not dorks, and so that's part of the reason why they do this. But on a philosophical and political level, I thought Ben Shapiro was a freedom of speech advocate.
So you're trying to tell me that dressing like whores and promoting whoredom, that's freedom of speech now, right? That's basically what they're trying to make the new norm. And the people with a goddamn head on their shoulders that question this bullshit, you're called a misogynist or so on and so on. All that bullshit they're going to throw at you because you understand how a woman's supposed to conduct herself, especially in the black community. When a so-called black man, they want to talk about our black man don't protect us, so on and so on. They leave us in the dirt. When a so-called black man tries to address you on how you're dressing, how do you react to him? They give you all this type of sass and everything. Don't tell me what to wear. I can wear this, my body. I wear this because of me, so on and so on, man. You know what feminists did to the so-called black woman. It tore her down. It gave her a false sense of empowerment. Some bullshit, man. Because at the end of the day, we know they're children with breasts, man. We know this situation. This dude right here is a big-ass clown, man. They not doing these music videos in Turkey, man. We already know this.
I thought he thought like freedom of speech is awesome. So, Ben, make a counter argument. Instead of saying they shouldn't say this, why don't you say the argument for dry ass P words and see how.
Yeah, it's all comedy. It's all fun and jokes until you see some girls that resemble your background on there. It's only because it's so-called black women, Hispanics, and whoever that don't resemble these Armenians, Turkish people, these Jewish execs that fucking pimp our sisters and brothers on this shit, but nobody wants to stop it. Nobody wants to stop it. Anytime we say something, we're hating. But these liberals, they have not made one comment that this is degrading. So what does that tell you, man? They pushing the bullshit. Everybody does not want to see the so-called black family prosper in this country because it's not our land to prosper. That's why we got to revert back to our higher power so we could restore order. Period.
I mean, speech versus speech, right? I mean, so look. By the way, this is all
dry ass pervs like Ben Shapiro. We have one more video though. Like, let's just go to one more video of him reciting the lyrics.
And then I want to make it serious.
Never gonna F him for a thing. He already made his mind up before he came. Now get your boots and your coat for this wet ass P word. Pay my tuition just to kiss me on this wet ass P. Right. So this is, guys, this is what feminists fought for. This is what the feminist movement was all about. It's not. It's not really about, you know, women being treated as independent, full.
Let's be honest, dude. This shit's getting old, man. It's gotta get old for some brothers out there that always go on your phone and turn on, and you go on your IG and you see ass and cleavage, man. That shit gets old, dude. What about a girl that's a mystery, man? They pushing all this shit so all these women can learn to be whores. Ain't nobody out here learning how to be wives. That's the problem with the so-called black community, period. I'm happy this man called it out because a lot of individuals don't take the information that like the way they're supposed to unless they hear it from the so-called white man. So there you have it.
Human beings. It's about wet ass P word. And if you say anything differently, it's because you're a misogynist, you see. It gets really vulgar.
Okay, Jake, let me tell you what the real problem is here.
Nah, the real problem is that y'all perpetuating the bullshit, and we don't even need to take this video any further. Just got to show y'all how these liberal networks work. They work on some bullshit to perpetuate the nonsense that everybody consumes in the so-called black community. We think this thought culture, the hookup culture, criminal culture, mixed in with the nigga nonsense is the daily norm, but that's not how we supposed to be living, man. That liberal shit, we need to cut it out. The only way that we really gonna truly be liberated is if we restore order and go back to the higher power, period. All these trash ass liberal stations, the radio stations, the nets on the social media, they're all bullshit. I don't see no positivity in them, man. Just letting you know, all these liberal Caucasians and everybody that say that they're Democrats and everything, they're really not for you so-called black people. Hope y'all wake up.